Hi everyone, I'm Jan. I'm really interested in trying to get you to sew something outside your box a little bit, but something quick and simple. A lot of us don't have a lot of time working full time, having families, etc., but you've got 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to be able to make an infinity scarf in probably half that amount of time. So you know what? These things can sell anywhere in the stores from $40 to $70 depending on how the quality of the fabric is. You're going to be able to make one for peanuts, and you can make all your gifts and save all that kind of money, but it's still the enjoyment of being able to make it. An infinity scarf means that it's a full circle. So what the trick is that you twist it. When you sew it around, you have a twist in it. And what that twist gives you is just a little bit more body as you're wearing it. Now, I personally like to wear mine where it's covering and giving me a little bit here, but I'm my age. I noticed that the younger gals love all this stuff all around their neck, and they'll put it all up in their neck like this. So you have to decide who you're making it for and what exactly you want. That will also determine on how wide of the fabric we're going to use. Now, before we go into dimensions and all of that, I'm going to inspire you I'm going to make one in about 10 minutes, or 5 minutes probably. And then I'm going to show you some different ways on how to put it together and how to cut it out, so you'll be inspired to do it. So the first thing you're going to do is to take your fabric. Depending on how wide it is this is probably 16 inches wide. And just fold it in half. You can feel what I got. I got a very lightweight jersey. What I'm going to make one out of today is out of this cuddle fabric. And this snuggle fabric just makes it look like it's fur. So for a winter coat, it's absolutely gorgeous. I chose to use it because I wanted to show you my techniques, and I thought it would show up a little bit better than running through knits. But I will tell you, I did these for Christmas last year, and everybody was fighting for them. So the first thing you're going to do is you've got your fabric cut however long you want it and how wide you want it. And we'll go through that in a couple minutes. But what I need to do is to take about 6 inches from the top of my fabric. I'm going to stitch in, and then I'm going to sew down. So what I want to do is a little trick I have is that I'm going to sew in about my 1/2 inch and then go down. This will allow my next part of my scarf to work very, very nicely. So we're going to take it, start sewing 6 inches in, sew in my seam allowance, which is probably about 5/8. Make sure you sew about 4 to 8 inches from the top. That will make this part sewing it together easier if you have your 4 inches, 8 inches there. Let's do 8 inches. Now all I'm going to do is to stitch right on down. If you have a serger, do it on your serger. If you have a sewing machine, buzz it on your sewing machine. It's no big deal. Needle down because I'm readjusting. If you don't have a needle up, needle down on your machine, that's like a sewer's dream. Maybe it's time for you to investigate what else is out here. There's so many new features on sewing machines, it's pretty shocking. Needle up, needle down. See how the needle stopped for me? Some of you may be constantly turning your hand wheel, having to readjust. I don't have to do that. My needle stops down so I can pivot for my quilting, but I really like it when I'm sewing. I'm not a big pinner. I'm pretty confident in my sewing, so I don't pin a lot, but that needle up, needle down allows me to. At this point, I'm 4 to 6 inches from the end. I'm going to take it, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to stitch it off. That little trick right there seems like nothing, but it's going to save you a lot of time in a few minutes. So all I've done is stitch down my edge. At this point, I'm going to turn it right side out, right through the hole. So now I have made myself a complete tube. Okay? The trick now is that I am going to sew across the width of my fabric, across the end of my scarves. But the first thing I want to do is to twist it. And you can twist it once, you can twist it two, depending on the appearance that you want. Now I'm just going to sew across my 12 to 18 inches. So I first sew my long seam. I sewed it 8 inches from the end. I'm now sewing across the width of my scarf. Again, I will go through these directions again for you, and we'll talk about how wide to make them. But if you get this part right down here, you're going to be enthused, and everybody's going to make them. You're going to have them for everybody for the holidays. One year I had about 25, 30 of them made, and I let them pick their own. That's always fun, but I don't know. I like to kind of choose my fabrics for the person. They like being able to pick their own, though. It wasn't even a fight. It was kind of fun. People who don't sew thinks that you made them a scarf, and they think you're just miraculous. You never have to tell them that it took you 10 minutes. Take a little bit more credit. Okay, so what I did now is sewed across my edge of my seam. I have my scarf done. The only thing I have to do now at this point is I have to sew, remember the 8 inches from here to here? Let's go here. Remember the 8 inches from here to here, and remember the 8 inches from here to here. So now, do you remember when I had you sew that little seam in there? If you look at this, it folds right in for me. It just folds that seam allowance right on down. And all I have to do now is to take this, look, I don't even have to pin it, because that little spot where I took in that 5/8 seam allowance did all the work for me. It's folding right in there like it's supposed to, like it wants to. It's how I've trained it, basically. I'm stitching down that seam. If you're a perfectionist, go ahead and sew it by hand. Hand sewing isn't very much my cup of tea. I can always find a way to do it on a sewing machine. This kind of fabric, why bother? Now, I've got my scarf made, and I'm all done. You see how it's finished? And let's take this one off. This one on. Can you imagine how that's going to keep the winter out and snow out? But the girls will make this different sizes and have this right up here on their neck. I can't stand it on my neck, so you have to decide how big and long you want it. Pretty cool, huh? I've even made these now, and I'll show you at another time, where I'm making them wider, and I'm making them into shawls. Isn't that cute? So, kind of fun. So this is a cuddle fabric. It's something you might want to really look into, because they've even got a luxury or fur one that's out now. So that's how a scarf is made. So let's talk about some in different sizes, in different angles, and then I'll go over one more time how to make it, okay? So the first thing I do is take a scarf, and I'm going to say, feel the fabric. The fabric here is a very luscious jersey, right off of a designer showroom. This scarf, take a look. Feel comfy? So take a look at it. You can go anywhere from up to about 2 yards. I would say 1.5 yards is the normal measurement for a scarf like this. You're taking 1.5 yards by the width you want. So again, I didn't want a lot of it here, so I've got this width of about 16 inches. So now I've just got 16 inches long, 16 inches wide, all the way down 1.5 yards. So if you buy knit fabric, your fabric comes 60 inches wide, you could get 3 scarves across because you're going all the way down. You need that 1.5 yards. 60 inches to just cut across gives you a very tight scarf. It won't let you twist it. You follow me? So 60 inches across the fabric is going to give you a scarf. I don't think I even made one. It's only going to let it go about like this. One turn, that's it. So, but if you go 1.5 yards, now you've got to choose that you could make 3 scarves, 16, 16, and 16, down your 1.5 yards. Or some of the girls, again, make real wide scarves, and they use a whole 30 inches in it. And they make it long, and they drape it and drape it. So decide who you're sewing for. I'll tell you that if you make the long drapey ones for the young girls, they're thrilled, thrilled, thrilled. For the young girls, I would tell you 2 yards, because they wrap and wrap. So see what you want to wear, see what you want to think, and then go from there. So this one is the same way. Got it long, isn't it cute? Long. I didn't even twist this one. Didn't even twist it. All I did is I just didn't take the turn on it. Just for another look. I can twist it when I put it on. Now this one, again, the same way, made out of a plush jersey. Can you tell down here the way that this is folding that this has been twisted? Remember when I twisted it before I sewed it? That's been twisted. It's giving you a little bit more pizzazz in your fold. Let's go to some fun ones now. This one right here is a knit fabric. I have cut my piece about 18 inches long by 60. I'm done already. All I had to do was to sew my seam. I finished my seam just completely inside and then outside. I didn't even bother to finish this edge. The reason for that is when you stretch a knit, it will roll for me. And that roll is part of my design. So I've got my scarf here again. And I bet you this couldn't possibly take you from the time you cut it to the time you finish it less than 4 minutes. That'd be pretty hard to do, 4 minutes. I'll show you one. So here we go. This is kind of a weird thing to understand and to really let ourselves go as sewers, but it's in the stores. So if it's in the stores, why are we worried? What I've done is I've cut a piece of red knit, 60 inches wide. That's how wide most knits are, right? And I've cut it 16 to 18 inches. You're going to have to buy a half a yard, so 18 inches. Guess what? These edges are done because they're salvage. They're salvage. Nothing can happen to them, right? When you stretch that salvage, it'll turn a little bit. Now watch this one. I'm going to stretch it real hard. I'm going to turn it, and look how it has rolled for me. Do you see how that's rolled? Let's do this right in front of you. So I have a piece of knit. It's got to have some cotton in to make this happen. Now watch. All I'm going to do is to stretch it. All done. Stretch it. All done. Let's do the other side. Ladies, I haven't sewed a thing. Stretch it. So when you're in the store, take it. Take your knits. Now, you're saying, oh, really? Well, let me tell you. Would you wear it? Sure. I haven't even sewed the seams together. If you wanted to sew the sides together, then you're going to get the scarf like my pink one that you could put a twist in it. Right? Because I put a twist. If I wanted to twist this one, but you're also just done, just like this. You're finished. Cute. Put your jacket on and go. Now let's sew it and make it an infinity. So, again, I am not going to stretch my fabric. It's just going to roll. It's not going to change while it's hanging in the dress in your closet. It's just going to be fine. So I've rolled it and turned it. Sometimes when it's a simple fabric like this and doesn't have a lot of dimension to it, I might twist this a couple times. A heavier fabric, don't twist too many times. It makes it too heavy. But something like this, look, I twisted it a couple times. I'm going to sew my seam together. I hope you would change to red thread if you were doing this. But I'm not going to because I want you to see it. I'll take it apart. As a matter of fact, if you sew this up and trim next to it about 1/2 inch, it's going to roll over your seam anyway, so nobody's going to see it. I twisted the fabric, so I started with 18 inches of fabric that I bought. Okay, 18 inches. This one is only 60, so I'm trying to show you if you went the width of the fabric, 60 inches wide, what you're going to get. Now tell me you don't have time for this. And some of you that are into quilting or something else, this is still something a little bit outside your box. Look, all I have to do is stretch this a little bit and those seams are going to cover that red edge. I hope you sew it in red thread. Now look what I've got. See how it's just twisted it for me? See how it's done just a little bit more and a little bit different? And again, then they go through. Now I can't get it any wider than this because my length was only 60 inches. So if you go a little bit more, 1.5 yards, usually for me, 2 yards for my daughter, for sure, because they like all this stuff up here. You'll see them in the stores where they're really, really long, 2 yards. We did one the other day that was about 2.5, and it's, I'll show it to you another day, it's a little bit different style. And it's draped and draped and draped. I don't know. But anyways, isn't this cute? Ladies, how long did it take me to make it? How fun. Go find a piece of knit. I've even taken apart t-shirts, sewed t-shirts, cut them apart at the bottom of the t-shirt, sew them together, and do the same thing. Really cute. Now, how cute is this? And how much would that be in the store? Out of a high-quality fabric like this, you're probably talking $45. So, how fun. So, we got one that I didn't even seam. My sweater one. I seamed here again. I twisted it and seamed it, didn't bother to do the edges down. They rolled for me. So I'm showing you two different scarves. This one, the same way. I took a knit fabric that I had, I sewed my seam, I didn't twist it. You see your difference? I did not twist it. It's a thicker fabric. That twist would have, I used a sweater knit here. The twist gives it too much. 3. Now, these little guys, we have seamed the long seam. So we've made this one with the long seam. Remember the white one that I made with the long seam? So it's an infinity circle with a twist. So if you have a real heavy fabric, maybe not put the twist in it. A lightweight fabric, maybe 2 twists. So you got options to be able to go. Let's go over it one more time. I've taken my fabric. I've got almost 1 3/4 yards here. I'm going to sew my seam, starting 4 to 6 inches in. Sew down if you're using your sewing machine. Sew down using your sewing machine, maybe about 1/2 inch. Stitch all the way down to the edge, stopping 6 to 8 inches. The difference of when you stop is if you're using a real heavy fabric, you're going to want to stitch 8 inches from the edge because you've got a lot to make that turn. If you're using a thin fabric like this, it's pretty easy to get your hands in there. I came down to my edge, stitched down, and I've taken a straight stitch out here. You with me? So that's all I've done. I'm going to turn it right. Now you're all excited already. How cool is that? But now I have to sew these circles together. So I'm going to now take it, twist it, twist it. Sometimes I've had it where my daughter or someone will hold one end and as I'm twisting it because it's confusing. You're going to sew your right sides together right across your circle. Let me do it real quick so I can just make sure you understand how to do this. Again, what I'm after is just showing you a little bit of quick ideas. This is holiday great gifts, but it's also just a great thing to make, and it's so simple. You might be surprised how much fun you're going to have. And about 6 more inches all the way across. Remember, what we're going across at this point is how wide your fabric was. Now, all I have now, turn it all inside out, and I have a hole here. My 6 inches this way and my 6 inches that way. By folding that in, I have to tack it down, and I'm 100% done. So, look at my scarf. Don't tell me, go to your department store and go find out how they're made, or go look at them, and you're going to see exactly what I've done. And you're going to see, again, I wear them like this. Many people wear them like this. You can change them however long you want, however wide you want. Depends upon your body type. Bigger people usually want wider. Taller people want wider. Some of us can't stand stuff on our necks. So whatever way it works for you, it's really a fun thing to do. And it's so easy, and other people are totally impressed. Don't get it caught in your earring, though. So I hope to see you again, and I hope you go and take it go out of your box and make some scarves. It's holiday season. Just do it anytime. Birthdays, anything. I've given people 5 scarves. They were overwhelmed getting 5 scarves. I made them in 5 to 10 minutes each. How fun. Hardly no money. It's a great thing. Hope to see you again. Thanks.